Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers at home, and welcome to Discussions on Youth. I'm Hassan Hadi. I am joined by Sayyid Fadl Bahrul Uloom. Unfortunately, Sayyid Ali Madani is not in today, but inshallah, the program will go ahead and we'll be here in his place, inshallah. Of course, he's a better of a host than me. Sayyidina, today's topic is on body image, right? And we urge the viewers to also call in is 0205 0203 sorry 515 1234. So if you have any points, questions, then do call in because Sayyid Fadl Bahrul will be here inshallah with us, also ready to answer your questions inshallah. So body image nowadays, having this perfect body has gotten this high of a status that everyone should try and have. Even myself, for example, I suffer from the same problem. I always look at myself in the mirror and I think, oh, that's not good. And rightfully so, because I do eat too much. I do not exercise. I say it openly, and it's not good, right? But in terms of being depressed and having anxiety and these kind of problems that this self-conscious causes, how can we first of all tackle it, and what are different problems that do arise from this perfect body image point?
أحسنتم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I think the whole problem, the whole thing comes from these movies and pop stars and celebrities, and all of these kind of shows and images which if we give it a deep thought, most of them are not real. And even the one which is not real is not practical. How? These people, they spend a lot of money and time on their body and on their image, which doesn't really, Allah subhanahu azza wa jal give us the ni'mah of time. We live every day is 24 hours, 6-7 hours sleep, 6-7 hours work, 7-8, few hours socializing, salat arham, studying, reading, doing something useful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to take good care of our body, but not up to the limit which make us look like the one we see. From the look you can see that there is something not true.
So when you mean from something that we don't that we see, what could you elaborate on that? Because
the images on cinema and movies and Hollywood and those stars, you talk about overweight and obesity. Yes. When I was young, I was underweight. The key issue for that is by being careless. We don't need to compare ourselves and our body with the others. It's good that we take care of our body as Islam and religion encourages us to do so, and we should take good care of our food, our eating programs, sport, these kind of things, go to the gym, swimming. Even we have riwayat urging us to practice swimming and these things and other kind of sport, but not to exaggerate up to the extent. I'm sure we all have now hearing in the news that such and such athletic or such and such celebrity, they took tablets or injections,
steroids and these kind of things,
which are not allowed, and then that caused a problem and he took them to court and so on and so forth. The whole idea is once we feel that we got over engaged but by the idea of our body and our image, then we need to, that means there is a red alert and we need to rethink and we need to reconsider and we need to ask first our direct family, parents, partners, whether this is normal. Otherwise, when it gets to a limit, it becomes like something keep us anxious and obsessive, and I think then we do need to see a GP and ask for a medical help.
Okay, but people who are overweight like myself, and people who
You are not overweight.
I am overweight. Of course, you have, mashallah, very good body.
Yeah, but alhamdulillah, the job doesn't show the tummies.
No, no, it is. You have a good body shape, mashallah.
So, thank you.
This whole thing that people, when they look in the mirrors, me myself as an overweight or someone else who is an underweight or not having the perfect shape, they always think of themselves low and have low self-esteem and say, "Oh, I'm worthless," and these kind of these kind of wordings or ideas, right? These slowly develop to a worse problem.
Yeah.
Whereas self-harming, suicidal thoughts, how can we overcome that? Because it is a very serious issue, and sometimes people openly say, "Oh, you're fat," or you're a skinny person. You'll be better off if you kill yourself. I've heard that before, not to me, but from other people. That oh, that guy would be better off if he killed himself. How can we overcome that? Because it's a serious issue, taking someone's life or taking in that way. Is he first of all taking that person's life, or is that person his fault?
First of all, we are not responsible about our body, and everyone knows that because we are not creating ourselves. So it is silly to ask or to talk about these things with people and telling them what to do to themselves and giving these kind of silly hints. Plus, if we have a good belief and good aql, intellect, enough wisdom, we probably by teaching ourselves يعني تلقين every day and the other, we need to tell ourselves what is the most important thing in life, what is the most important thing a person can provide in the society, and this probably first is his iman, his akhlaq, so his belief, his behavior, treating other people, his role in the society, in the mujtama', his giving, his delivery, what is he delivering to other. After all of that, shape comes, and the shape doesn't have to be how beautiful we look like, because the look is something which you used to it, and you got a collar or
No.
because he said Ali usually when he does
Yeah.
this, he takes a deep breath, and I mean there is a call.
No. I read something very similar in terms of statistics regarding the suicide, and the least people who take their lives are Muslims. The least number of people who take their own life or tell someone to kill themselves is the least in the whole world. Is that because of what you said, like the iman and these kind of things that comes first?
Of course, شيخنا, لأنه if we see the problems our Muslim countries are going through and the kind of stability, although it's relevant, يعني, the society there is much more stable than the society in the West.
In what way? Because they don't have safety, for example.
أحسنت. But suicide rate is less, depression rate is less. In comparison with the problems they have, I had one of my friends, she's a psychologist, and she used to say, for example, that was at the time, long time ago, at the time of previous regime, Saddam, she used to say that I wonder how the Iraqis, half of them should have anxiety and depression and these kind of disorders if they are normal. I said, how? She said, because when a normal human being, if he walk in the street, if he had a bullet in his head, he will shout. The one who doesn't shout, that means he's dull. So for the Iraqis, and she always used to compare with the Irish because she's British, with the Iraqi, and as she said in the old days with the Irish, because of the bombs and these kind of suicide bombing and these kind of accidents, always they need to be tense and anxious, and the one who's not anxious, he's dull. Because if you put a bullet in the head of someone, he doesn't react, that means he's dull, there's something wrong with him. So same thing when it gets to our societies. Alhamdulillah, if you do like a statistic, the number of people who are depressed or anxious is less or same number of the people in the West. While in the West, everything is available, everything is there, the work opportunities is fair, and security is no way to compare. Electricity is
Yeah.
there. I mean, alhamdulillah, nowadays electricity is better in Iraq and in Lebanon. But in other countries, Middle Eastern countries, most of them are not as stable as the Western countries. And the reason why the people there are more stable is because of Ni'mat al-Iman. The giving of al-Iman is the best giving by Allah subhanahu azza wa jal. Allah gave us this kind of ni'mah, and it gives stability, it gives kind of security. You feel safe, you feel secure. Even when we lose someone, when someone passed away, I used to ask my English friends, how can you accept that? It's very difficult to all of a sudden you don't see someone for good. For us, we know that this is temporary and we're going to meet, and the souls also already meeting each other, because the soul of the dead people is there and is alive and is around us, and so on and so forth. These things gives kind of momentum, gives kind of strength and courage for us to stand the problems and to become stronger when we have a disaster in our life.
Does a minimalistic lifestyle also lessen these kind of anxieties and depression? Because if we look at the lives of people who are in Europe or in the West, and then people who are in the Middle East, like in our home country in Iraq, they are much more happy, and yet they have so much less than us. Is it because they keep everything simple?
Yeah, this is a very good issue. Simplicity is the key for the success. And always, I mentioned this probably in one of the programs when we were talking about marriage. If you keep everything simple, it's less problem, less cause, less anxiety, less fight, less depression, and less everything, and less hustle. Yep. Simplicity is very, very important. And nowadays, a few days ago, I went to the shop to buy cards for my son's birthday, and the shop was small, and the selection of cards were smaller. It was me and my other son. It took us short time. There were only 2-3 available. We picked them up, and they were very nice cards, and we went home. And I told them,
sports car?
Birthday cards. And the thing is, usually they have a variety, and you keep on looking. And this is just a simple example when I said cars. It's applicable for everything: clothes, furniture, everything. When the variety is more, you spend longer time, and you become more confused. And going back to Iraq or Iran or Middle Eastern countries, for example, you go to buy cornflakes. They had only one local, 2-3 local ones, 1 or 2 imported. And you know which one you want, you pick it up and you leave. Here, you go, if it's a big super store, and then you don't know which one. And this is what we call in Arabic batar.
My mom sends me shopping sometimes. I get confused of the selection.
Exactly, unless they write the name. And I wish if we know what's the equivalent of batar in English. When someone becomes so choosy and selective, and sometimes he feels confused, and sometimes he feels tired. And if we tell people in Africa or in the Middle East that we feel tired because we go shopping and we don't know what to buy, what would they say nowadays? And people send us some clips about people in poor countries, and about the way they are eating and the food. And you really feel upset and confused, and how people are coping. While here, the same thing in food, same thing in Ramadan, as we are celebrating the holy month of Ramadan. 2-3 years ago, I was usually I spend Ramadan in Mashhad, and
because of the time?
Because of the time, and because of the holy city, and because of so many because. But this year, because of my daughter's exam, and because of the program, I'm not going there.
Sorry, but we need you here.
Thank you. So we were in a hotel where they have an open buffet, and no exaggeration, when you see many type of food, you don't know what to eat, and then you really feel that, what's this? I mean, then we start selecting one kind every day. It's easier and better for the stomach, easier to select. Sometimes I see people, they sit confused.
Yeah.
And I talk to my sister or my friend, look at those people, they are batrani, they are so choosy. And
Wallahi.
people in the poor countries, they are happy. And I do remember I've heard from our parents, from our grandparents, from Sayyid Sistani when he came to this country for medical treatment. One
Yeah.
day he was in the heart hospital, and they forgot there was some problem with the driver. He got delayed. He couldn't bring him the dinner on the right time, and the hospital they close after 8:30 or something. He said, no, we don't need food. He said, tonight we're gonna have the dinner of the talaba, of the students. Talaba mean talabat al-hawza.
Yeah, I've heard about it. It's
Bread and tea.
bread and tea. Well, there's a in Najaf. I've heard it. They say Hausa students live on three things: ماي البير, خبز الشعير, وزيارة الأمير.
أحسنتم, which is true.
It's very simple.
The
So
water of the well and
yes,
خبز الشعير, which is
dry bread
أحسن.
and زيارة أمير المؤمنين.
And this gives them a lot of momentum. And Sayyid Sistani told us about the talaba dinner, which was bread and tea. And a few days ago, there were two martyrs. I've forgotten the name of the young one. Inshallah, I think Sheikh Al-Khafaji. Something I read in the Facebook, which makes me feel painful, but at the same time happy for him, because he had a room in the Madrasa Shubariya, and Amin of the Madrasa Shubariya, his name also said Amin Shubar. They went to check his things to give to his parents after he got killed in the Jabha. He got martyred, and they saw ad'iyah and books and dry bread in the cupboard and few other simple things. So until now, the talaba, they eat this. And I got ill a few years ago because of my stomach. And one of the best things until now, and in Ramadan I do eat it, is the dry bread. And there are, we have, inshallah, we have time. I read you riwayat about the dry bread, al-khubz al-yabis. They use it as a medicine. One person came to the Imam, he said, I ate something and I feel upset. He said, go and take dry bread, khubz yabis, and out of practice, it helped a lot. Usually, one of the old friends I used to have.
Yeah, we do in Germany when I was a child. Whenever I'd get ill, my mom did give me chamomile tea, and is dry bread. Very dry bread is like a cracker.
Yeah, like a cracker.
It's very dry bread.
Yeah.
This one with the chamomile tea, it worked wonders.
Yeah. Usually, if someone has got upset stomach, is bread or dry bread with yogurt. And as we are talking about obesity and healthy food, yogurt, the bio yogurt. I highly urge everyone to buy bio yogurt, and this is, if it's organic, is better, and it's got kind of bacteria which
but how can we
make
how
some
can
healing
we
to
convey
the
this message to the people, especially the Arabs, for example? They are very stingy when they want to buy. They want to buy the cheapest, whether it's bio or organic or not. As long as it's the cheapest, they buy that. How can we actually tell them no, buy what's good? How can we teach them that?
Well, it's a problem because sometimes they spend a lot of money when they select so many cheap things. If they buy one thing which is reasonably priced but useful, that would be probably better. Same thing as I was talking 2-3 days ago about water. Let them select the water they like instead of them buying these kind of cheap juices. And when we were talking about dry bread, I want to mention one of the old friends. He passed away, rahmatullah alayh. He ate and he was very healthy. He lived for 82 years, I think. He was a very healthy life. He was healthy till last moment of his life. And he used to have a small piece of bread. He called it tabadur. Tabadur is like a piece of thingy which they cover the bottle with. He said, this is to become like a cover to my stomach, and I feel. And subhanAllah, I was going through a book of Wasa'il al-Shi'a by Al-Hurr al-Amili, which is a book of hadith, Bab al-At'imah wal-Ashribah, and it has got riwayat about how useful is al-khubz al-yabis for to treat the upset stomach and to make us feel better.
Okay, we are deviating from the topic for quite a bit, but in terms of minimalism and keeping everything minimalistic, people do compare themselves with models and actors, as we mentioned earlier. How can we, if not stop that straight? Because it's hard to stop an addiction, for example, or stop something which they are used to straight away. How can they minimize it at least? How can they minimize it and then stop it gradually? Or what would you advise them?
There
Me,
are
for example.
yeah, there are a few methods. I hope that you stop me when you need
Yeah.
to go to break, and we continue. Number
Mhm.
one, always comparison is no good.
Mm.
Whether it's about body, money, education standard, job. If we compare ourselves with the other, this is the beginning of the end. This is the death sentence.
Mm.
It is a worry in the life, and the noob in akhir.
Wow.
So no need to compare. Once you start comparing and keep on comparing, that means you begin trouble yourself.
Mhm.
Number one. Number two, these movies and these celebrities and these sport figures, how we are comparing ourselves with, if they are sport people, they spend God knows how long in taking care of their body.
Yeah.
And no way we can do that, because our job and our profession is not
Different.
players or footballers,
Mm.
or so we can't compare.
Mhm.
And if we do same as them, our body will be same as them, so they are
Mhm.
not better than us.
Yeah. Of course, everyone and their qudra, of course,
أحسن.
and everyone and
هنقبل.
what they can do. Do you have a third point, or
I have a point I can finish it after the break.
after the break? Of course. Do join us, dear viewers, after the break, and make sure you call in right after the break. It's on 0203 515 1234 after the break. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. I'm Hassan Hadi. Welcome back to Discussions on Youth. Before the break, Sayyid Father Bahr al-Ulum was discussing a few points regarding treatment, on how to compare or what not to do to compare yourself with fictional characters or just actors and these kind of role models in terms of body shape. So before I rudely interrupted you to
No,
go to
sorry.
break, you still had a few points or a few points that
Yeah.
you wanted to talk about.
One of the or the most important point I want to discuss or to mention is what we called in Arabic Jamal al-Ruh, the beauty of the spirit. When you go somewhere, and you want to sit down, sometimes you choose a person to sit next to, or even in the bus or wherever you go. The reason why you chose such and such person or so and so person, there is no reason. You just feel attracted, and you want to spend the next half an hour next to that person, because he looks peaceful, because he looks nice, because he looks pure. Many things which we can't really
Explain.
list
Really.
and explain.
Yeah.
And this is what we call Jamal Ruh. Regardless whether this person is big, is fat, is slim, is underweight, overweight, and same thing is applicable on TV shows and even on these movies, episodes. Many actors, they are not very attractive, and some of them are overweight, some of them are underweight, and they became well known, and some of them are different color of skin, and they became very famous and very attractive. And same thing when you have a close friend, or
Yeah.
when you have people stick to their mother, to their father, and they love them, and the mother and father doesn't have to be the best looking worldwide. In fact, sometimes you see people who looks like the mother and or the father or a brother or late person, and you feel that you stick to him. This is because his spirit, you think that the spirit looks similar, and once he talks, then it's different. And this is just to show that the look has nothing to do with like and dislike. Like and dislike is something linked to the spirit. And if this become clear, and if we absorb and understand this concept clearly, I think the rest of it will be much easier for
Okay,
us.
so liking and disliking a person's body, how is that in relation to liking someone's spirit or someone's kind of energy, isn't it?
Yeah,
So how can we
أحسنت energy.
differentiate that?
Yeah. Here they call it energy. In our religion, they call it روحية, روحانية.
Mm.
Uh, some people they call it spirituality. Some other they call it charisma. Some other call it جاذبية, attraction. Many things. What I want to say is that doesn't mean there is nothing called beauty and there is nothing called someone has got a good figure. No, but the first thing which came to our mind is the beauty of the spirit, the beauty of the soul, not the beauty of the body and how we look like.
Is the inner beauty.
Exactly, the inside, the soul, and this kind of connection, the resonance between our energy and other people's energy. There are many people, and this we say energy, and it's got interpretation in Islam, but I'm trying to use the same language as people using. The attraction can be defined sometimes like the amount of or the resonance between X and Y. Like sometimes they have people, they have kind of attraction between themselves without knowing why. There is energy, same wavelength, same kind of the rhythm is the same, the energy level, call it whatever you call it, different ways of saying it, but the important thing is that X feel happy with Y, X feel attracted to Y, without considering the body of Y, without considering the look. The look on the body is important, but believe it or not, my friend, the look, they used to say it when people propose for marriage, that don't choose the good looking, choose the one with a good akhlaq, because a good looking is probably enough for 40 days or a month. I keep on checking the mic because they ask me with this abaya, because this fashion which we are wearing is old fashioned. In those days they never
I
used
like
to
it,
have
to be honest with you.
mic. Thank you.
I mean,
And with the mic doesn't work out with the
that's fine.
abaya
I
and
have
the
the
thing.
same problem with when I give short lectures to youth. I have the same problem because I also do it wear the abaya
Abaya,
sometimes,
yeah.
and it touches the mic
I
and
know,
they get
I know,
irritated.
I know. So the thing is how to understand each other, and the thing is to understand there is something more important than the look and more important than the body. Plus, if we keep on thinking about the body and the look, then we will be anxious, and then that will probably cause some kind of obsession. And the first day we get into this obsession, that means it's the beginning of the end, because then it will put us in loops, and we will be trapped in these loops and in a miserable kind of feeling, which is endless, and it can end us up in serious problems and seeing doctors for very long time. If not suicide, as you just mentioned, if not injuring, and unfortunately, I want to mention this. I think one day we will have a show about it. Nowadays, you will see it in this social media, on even on movies, and half of the things, if not most, they teach the generation is the movies, and this they injure themselves using weapons, which is a very silly way of doing it.
The self-harming is
Self-harming,
is apparently if you're depressed and you want to release some of your negative thoughts or anything like that, they'd rather hurt themselves.
Yeah, which is haram to begin
course,
with.
yeah.
It's haram and haram and haram. Plus it's silly, plus it is meaningless, plus so many pluses. But the most important thing is this media and the shows and the films and the movies. Half of the problems we are having is we get through TVs and through the bad messages and images we get from the media and from the movies and the TV programs.
Sometimes people, when they think, oh, I'm overweight or underweight, like for example myself, I always feel guilty, right? I try and make time, for example, for me to go to exercise, right? every now and then I try to eat more healthy, but then I deviate. I go back to the bad habits, right? And whenever I try and make time for exercising to lose weight, it doesn't work out because either I'm tied up at work, I'm busy studying, or sometimes it's just finding some kind of excuse, right? But then I always feel guilty after that. How can I overcome this guilt, and whether this guilt is positive or negative? Is this my conscience telling me that, or is it just some mini man in my head who's talking this?
Guilt always is negative.
Mm.
We shouldn't, and we should never allow ourselves to feel guilty unless we did something haram or bad. And then guilt feeling is good, but to correct the mistake, not to keep on moaning and all of us does mistake. All of us do mistakes.
When I say I'm guilty, I know for a fact that this body is an amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And I'm not doing enough positives to it. That's why I feel guilty, for example.
You shouldn't feel guilty because this feeling by itself means that you are taking care of the body. So when you talk about this kind of guilt feeling, just put it aside. And when you talk about sport, I want to mention that okay, you don't have time because you've got work, and these you work because you want to earn money to spend on your family. These are all holy things. These are all kind of worshipping, and Allah give you thawab for it. So you are not, you don't need to feel guilty because you are not wasting your time. Plus, if you don't have hours to do to spend in doing proper exercises, try to bear half an hour, quarter of an hour, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm sure we can do that. All of us we can do. So then the guilt will go. The guilt is the first enemy. Guilt, put a cross on the guilt. No guilt. Once you have guilt, I mean, it's a disease, it's a marad, it's anxiety, it's a disorder. So guilt, put it aside. You talked about looking at the body, feel this, feel that. I'm sure we all have seen people with reduced mobility, handicapped, disabled people.
Yes.
Although I wouldn't like to call them disabled, let's call them people with reduced mobility. Maybe one of them has no hand, has a problem with the leg, can't walk. Some of them they can't see. Many of those people are very successful members in the society. I think you agree with me.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sure you saw Taha Hussein, Helen Keller, Roosevelt. He was the president of the United States. He couldn't walk. There's many people. Even nowadays we had Steve Hawkins. He's got this ALS, and he's been.
He can't move but his eyes.
So all of these people are successful. Okay. Without mentioning their belief and where they come from and what they are, but these people, if they think and consider their disability and blame and cry and blame themselves and cry and moan and get depressed, would they reach the place where they reach?
No, of course not.
أحسنتم.
It's determination that they had.
أحسنتم. جزاكم الله خير جزاء. Okay, the determination, you just said it. Me being fat or me being slim underweight, can I compare myself? Call it disability. Can I compare this disability with that one? I can't. Me myself, I had few disc problems and had operation long time ago, and it happened to me at that time because by definition I was an engineer, and my work I need to be site engineer, and it didn't allow me for a while to work as a site engineer because of the pain and thing. So I thought, oh, is that fair? Is that not fair? And always straight ahead I compare myself with a blind person, and straight ahead I compare myself with any kind of disabled. And I said, this is life. And if you go and study religious further, you do further studies in religion and these kind of irfan studies and akhlaq studies, you realize that in this life Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us what we call ibtila. It's a test. Every single human being has got a problem. Each of us, he knows us, and he gives us this problem to see how can we stand it, how long, how much, how, where, when, and then we go thawab. And this is the idea and philosophy of life and behind life. The philosophy behind life is not to live in luxury, and it's not these fairy tales and movies.
No,
This is not real. This is not true. And most of these celebrities, if not all, are suffering, and that's, I'm sure you've heard of many of them. They commit suicide.
Yeah.
They
A comedian who's meant to make someone laugh
yeah.
commits suicide.
I know who you mean. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And some of them, they got in severe anxiety disorders, severe depressions, and they end up in hospitals or in retrieve places. So that means happiness is a relevant thing, and it doesn't mean that you're rich, you are happy.
Okay. To keep it within the topic, but if someone is not happy with their body image, they always, or not always, but most of them, see plastic surgery as a means of being happy with their body image. For example, me, let's say my face doesn't look nice. I have this little man in my head, as I like to mention that this little man in my head is telling me, "Oh, your face is ugly. Your face is ugly. Go do plastic surgery." And a lot of people do that. We see whether it's actors or normal people or just even in our communities nowadays, they go ahead with that as well. I mean, does that really give us happiness? I don't think so. What's your opinion on that?
It never gives happiness. It gives us more anxiety and more agitation by looking at ourselves and comparing and watching. And these kind of plastic surgeries, I highly urge our audience to avoid it. It's waste of money and of time. And some of it is haram. I wouldn't like to talk about the details because I'm not here in maqam al-ifta. According ala nahw al-fadwa, most fuqaha, they said most of it is halal. But some of it, it get into haram. Number one, we spend money. What for and how and why? This is number one. Number two, look at those images and faces of those who has done plastic surgery. Do you think they became attractive? Going back to celebrities, many of them, they haven't touched their faces, same as those in the old days. I swear to the name of God, they look better, they look more attractive, they look more peaceful. While those who did this kind of nowadays Botox injections, or I don't know what they call it, the character and the features of the face
changes
and it becomes horrific. Some of them, the image or the meaning of the face become kind of weird
and scary sometimes.
And scary,
yeah.
Not sometimes, it's most of the time. Unfortunately, they lose the peace and the energy when every age Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give it kind of beauty. And when you get older, there is kind of peace and beauty in the eyes. And unfortunately, these surgeries, immediately they change the meaning of the eyes. Because once they touch this area, they put something here, they change this. And they put something, they try to repair something on the account of other things. And then they end up having, unfortunately, ugly face, scary, as you just said. And I hope that our iman give us the strength and the resistance, the strength to be who we are, and not to be shy and shameful of ourselves, and to resist the awful thoughts and the bad obsessions about the image.
Some people, when they're not happy with their own, some people are not happy with their body image and seek refuge and try and find an exit door through eating, through alcohol, smoking, drugs. How can we, first of all, ourselves avoid that, and people who have these kind of problems who just go and turn into an alcoholic, severe alcoholics, for example? How can we really avoid that? I mean, it's a serious.
I wish, inshallah, one day we'll talk in details about these kind of diseases. As I mentioned before, they are all called anxiety disorders, and these are anxiety disorder, anorexia, bulimia, alcoholism, drug addiction, uh, OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder, and they are all very bad diseases, and we need to spend long time in talking about them. But I highly urge anyone who got a problem, once it reach this kind of taking drug on a compulsive base, on an obsessive base, or drinking والعياذ بالله. Apart from it being haram and one of the kaba'ir, but even for those who are cannot control themselves, they do need to seek GP advice, and hope one day we will have a full episode about anxiety disorders, because we've got plenty to talk about.
It's a problem that our youth are really facing. I mean, myself, for example, because I wasn't happy with my body, right? And to be honest with you, I still am not happy with my body, but not to an extent.
But you look lovely. You don't need to feel upset about it. How you look like, and your spirit, and your iman, and your akhlaq, and your image, and your treating others. This is the most important.
Yes, of course. But for me, as a Muslim, I really do want to take care of my body. I'm not happy with my body in a sense that I'd like to be better. Of course, I'm not. I don't think of myself like I'm bad, like I need to. If I don't do this, I'll kill myself. No, not like that. But the thing I'd like to do is really improve on my personal body and these kind of things. And this depression and anxiety did happen with me before I realized that no, this is just temporary. Before I realized that this world is temporary, it's really what the inner beauty, akhlaq, and treating with other people. I used to have severe anxiety, severe depression. I used to sit alone in my room and just cry for no reason. Just all of a sudden, mental breakdown. This is something very, very negative, and inshallah we will talk about it in detail.
Inshallah. The important thing is that you get into peace with yourself and with the other. To be peaceful with yourself and with the other. To accept yourself. My body is ni'mah, gift from Allah. So I shouldn't be angry about it.
Yeah, of course not.
I should accept it as it is and try to improve it. This is the most important thing.
Inshallah, we will talk about that in detail, whether it's with me or with Ali Madani. Inshallah, he will be better and coming back to the show as soon as possible. We do pray for him because he was ill. Inshallah, please everyone at home do pray for him. Thank you for watching this episode of Discussions on Youth. My name is Hassan Hadi. I've been joined with Sayyid Fadl Bahr Al-Ulum, which was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
But for tomorrow, inshallah, please do call in. It's 0203 515 1234. Unfortunately, we didn't get any callers today, but inshallah, every day in Ramadan we'll be here. Same time tomorrow. Thank you, and ma'as salam.